In the Midwest, near where I live, there are many abandoned places. During my senior year of high school, my friends and I often explored these eerie spots for fun. One Memorial Day weekend, with school almost over, we decided to visit a place we'd heard a lot about, a semi-ghost town called Cairo. Cairo, built in the late 1800s, declined due to flooding and racial tensions, leaving most of it deserted for decades. Intrigued by stories from others, we set out on a Sunday evening. Tristan picked me and Ryan up, and we drove 2 hours south to Cairo, passing through vast farmlands with few towns around. Entering Cairo's road felt unsettling. It was pitch black and abandoned, except for distant lights from a few occupied houses. We parked next to an old brick building labeled Liquor and stepped out, feeling the wind rustling through the deserted streets. Ryan led the way down the road. On one side, wooden homes reclaimed by nature stood among vines, while on the other, old shops lined up. One particular building caught our attention, a weathered theater with a sign that said, "Gem," complete with a ticket booth beside it. Curious, we used our flashlights to enter through a window. Inside, it was dark and musty, with our feeble flashlights barely illuminating the debris-covered floor. As we explored, Ryan suddenly froze, claiming he heard a footstep from above. Tristan and I listened but heard nothing, attributing it to the building's creaks. We continued upstairs to the balcony where rows of seats faced a stage below. Midway through the chairs, a creak behind us made us whirl around. In the shadows, a disheveled man emerged, holding a small revolver and staring directly at us. The silence amplified our fear. Tristan bolted downstairs, leaving me and Ryan to calmly inform the man we were leaving. He remained silent and motionless as we retreated, then sprinted back to the car. The drive back was tense, none of us speaking until we reached safety. Reflecting on the encounter, I speculated the man once lived in Cairo and, as it declined, ended up hiding in its abandoned buildings. That night could have ended much worse, but we were fortunate to escape unharmed. Since then, we've avoided exploring such places, mindful of the dangers hidden within abandoned memories of Cairo. The desolate stop. I was on a cross-country trip, heading to Maine for work and planning to visit friends and family along the East Coast. On my 4th day of driving, I was navigating through Pennsylvania. The drive mostly passed through empty, one-lane highways with occasional small towns. As evening fell, rain began to pour, and my fuel was running low. I hadn't seen a gas station for a while until I spotted a small one nestled among trees, barely visible through the fog. Relieved, I pulled in and tried to refuel, but both pumps were out of order. Frustrated, I noticed a dim light in the small building nearby. Hoping for help, I approached the door, which was fogged over. I couldn't see inside clearly, but the dim light suggested someone might be there. The door screeched open, revealing an empty and wrecked store. Shelves were knocked over, and the place looked abandoned for years. A strange lamp illuminated the back, casting an eerie glow. Feeling uneasy, I hurried back outside. As I turned towards my car, I saw a person, drenched and staring into my car windows. Startled, I yelled at them. They glanced at me and then looked past me towards the store. A man emerged from the store, with long black hair and a chilling look. Without hesitation, he sprinted towards me. I scrambled into my car, but he tried to open the door. I managed to drive off, hearing a scrape as he ran a knife along my car. I sped away, running on fumes until my car finally sputtered to a stop. Thankfully, I had cell service and called for help. Later that night, the police told me the gas station had been closed for over a decade. What would have happened if I hadn't escaped remains a chilling thought. Whispers in the woods. About 10 months ago, I was hanging out with my college buddy Chris in his small hometown. We were having a blast, hitting up the local bars and just enjoying ourselves. On my last night there, Chris mentioned this place he wanted to check out, a rundown spot in the woods, some abandoned houses or something. Now, Chris and I used to be big into exploring back in college, so it sounded cool to me. Within 30 minutes, we were trekking through this path in the woods, just before sundown. We had our headlamps handy, just in case. After about 20 minutes, the trail ended, and we had to follow this faint footpath through the trees for another hour. Finally, we saw it, a cluster of houses in the distance. They weren't as decrepit as we expected, though. They looked weathered but had modern siding and stuff. There was even a gravel road leading to each house. It seemed like they were meant to be a community, but something went south. Graffiti covered the sides of the houses, showing others had been here before us. Chris and I approached the nearest house, peering through the open doorway. Weeds were sprouting through the floorboards, but otherwise, it was empty. Then, out of nowhere, there was this loud slam that echoed through the woods. We both jumped, scanning the gravel road where we thought it came from. After that, dead silence. We were spooked but shrugged it off and stepped inside. There wasn't much to see downstairs, just the remnants of what might have been a nice home. Upstairs, though, it got weird. It was darker than it should have been, like the windows weren't letting in any light. The hallway was short with only 2 doors and what looked like an attic. We went to the first door, opened it, and found another empty room. But then, we heard footsteps outside, shuffling through the grass, getting closer to the house. We froze, listening as whoever it was approached. They came right up to the front door and stopped. "Hello?" A shaky voice called out. "I just want to talk, no harm at all." The voice was raspy, like the guy was missing teeth or something. We stayed quiet, wondering why he was approaching us out here. After what felt like forever, the silence was eerie. Chris cautiously went downstairs, peeking out the front door. His face went pale. "There's nobody there," he whispered urgently. I hurried down to see for myself, and he was right, no one in sight. We exchanged a look, both realizing the guy must have been hiding inside the house. Without a word, we bolted for the trees, racing back to Chris's place as fast as we could. Who that guy was and what he wanted, we had no clue. But one thing was certain, if he'd found us, we might not be here to tell the tale.